Hello, my name is Stephanie for Découvert and welcome to the Spring Automata tutorial. This fun project is created almost entirely out of paper, including all of the mechanisms. It makes a delightful STEM activity to complete with the kids. It would be beautiful to display year-round. There are so many possibilities to customize this project to suit your theme or decor. Add embellishments, ribbon, decorative papers. Let your imagination go wild. The SVG files are available at www.découvert.com. So without further ado, let's get these bunnies hopping. So here I'm working on my rabbit body, and I have started gluing one side. But of course, first what I did is I made sure that I folded along all my score lines, mountain fold, okay? And I also added curvature to the belly and curvature to the back portion to mimic the curvature here and here on the back, okay? It'll make it easier for you to glue it down. And then what you're going to do is you're going to add glue to this area here, okay? Hold it down, let it dry, and then you'll add a bit of glue to maybe the first 3 tabs, or you can go 2 tabs at a time if you like, depending on your pace, and just glue that down. You can use your tweezers too. And one way that I find works quite nicely is, especially with these little tabs here, is to use a little scrap piece of cardstock and just add a little bit of glue and just glue your tabs like so, okay? As you get to these subsequent tabs here, it's a bit easier just to kind of tuck the glue in here rather than trying to stick the nozzle in that small space. Okay, you'll just continue on until you get to the end. And then when you get to the very end, you're going to find these tweezers quite handy because it is going to want to come away because it's on that curve and it's at the end of the curve. Just take your tweezers and hold that portion down. And be patient with it, okay? And let it dry. Okay, and again, you'll be doing the same thing with the belly. Again, using your handy little piece of scrap paper to put the glue on your tabs. And just glue that down, okay? Making sure that your raw edge is lining up against that score line. Okay. So go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to our next step. Now, for the head, what you're going to do is you're going to mountain fold all of these little areas here. You can see around the nose, okay? Make sure that you get them all. And once you've done that, you can just add a bit of glue. And again, I would add curvature to the top of the head first. And again, add a bit of glue here to the 3 tabs. Tuck it in there. And then hold that down and let it dry. And you're hooking this tab here to secure it, but don't glue it yet. Just let these 3 dry first, and then go ahead, add some glue to that tab, and then just glue it down. And you'll do the same to the other side. And with the snout, again, a little bit of glue here, a little bit of glue here, and line that raw edge there, like so. Okay, so that's how the snout will look. Okay, and then once both sides of the head are glued down and the snout, then you'll just put glue on these tabs here. You don't have to put any glue on this one. Okay, just on the 2 side tabs, and you'll just be tucking it in like a box. Okay, and then just glue that down, making sure to line up that raw edge with the score line. Okay, here. All right, so go ahead and do that, and we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so here I have the hind legs of my little rabbit, and what you're going to do is you're just going to shape it with your 1/4 inch ball stylus here. Just turn it around on the back side and just in a circular motion get around that edge and then go around in the middle like so. Put a fair amount of pressure on here. Of course, I've got this mouse pad. It's an old mouse pad or a piece of foam as your surface. And then you can use your 1/8 tool and just go around the little paws here, and again in a circular motion. Just give it a little bit of dimension, and do that to both of them. Okay, and then with these front legs here, you're going to go ahead again with your 1/4 inch, go around here, down the middle here. You can take the smaller one and go around the little paw here. Okay, All right, sort of just curl these over like so, little bits here. Okay, just give a little shape. And then with your bunny ears, you have a front and a back. So this one, wrong side up, the back is the wrong side up. Again, take your 1/4 inch tool, go around the middle here, give it some shape. You might want to pinch this area here, or you can wait till you glue them together to do that if you like. And then on the front side of the front of the ear, okay, again, same thing. You can put a fair amount of pressure here, okay, like so. And what you'll do is once that's complete, you'll glue them together like so. Okay, like that. Now the jury's out. I might be removing this area here so that you have less thickness here. So again, watch out for that. This might be cut off and that will line up with your score line there at the bottom. Okay, and then once you're done that, what you're going to do is you're going to take your piece of 1/2 inch by 1/4 inch foam that I cut here, and you'll just glue this down to the back of your hind legs, center it, okay, do that to both, and then take your 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch piece of foam and apply it to the front leg here, more towards the back than to the front, okay. The idea is that this little area here is going to disguise that piece of foam, okay. So glue that down. And go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here I'm gluing my rabbit ears together. So you've got a back piece and a front piece, and you're just gluing them down like so. And you could shape them while they're still sort of wet too. Do a little bit more shaping, even curl them like so. You know, sometimes their bunny ears kind of like that. And then you're going to put a little bit of glue here. You're going to bend it, of course. You're going to fold it at that score line, put a bit of glue here, and then you can see that score line on the head here. Okay, line up that score line on the ear with the head score line, and then just glue that down. And then you'll do the same to the other side. Now once that's glued and dry, then what you're going to do is you're going to add some glue to the neck area here on your body, and you're going to line up this score line with that score line and just sort of center it. Okay, you can sort of see that, you know, the head is a bit larger there in that area, and also make sure that it's centered here as well. Okay, but most importantly, making sure that that is lined up here and centered. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here I'm about to glue my hind legs onto my bunny. So what you're going to do is just kind of line up the bottom here of the ankle and just kind of line it up with this here, okay, the butt, I guess. And what you'll do is you'll just set it on top of the table and just make sure that this area here is touching the table as well as the foot, okay, that they're both at level with the table. Now you can play around with the bunny's stance, so he could be a little bit more upright or a bit further down, a bit more lying down. Okay, you can play around with that, but what you want to make sure is that the hind leg doesn't come out like this. Okay, it has to be at level with this back area here, otherwise you're going to have trouble with the mechanism, so it'll get caught. So you always want to make sure that this foot is level with the back, and the best way to do that is to set it on the table and get your positioning and see which way how high you want them, and then just glue that down, and then you'll do the same to the other side, and then you'll take your front paws, and again you'll just make sure that it is level with the hind leg, the back paw, that they're both the same level there. Okay, and then just glue that down, And just make sure that they're symmetrical when you're gluing them on the other side. Okay, so go ahead and do that. We'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here I have my bunny, my standing bunny, and I've gone ahead and I've glued him together, and he goes together in a similar fashion to the sitting bunny. So again, it's mountain folds, and you're going to curve the back and curve the belly before you glue it. And again, you'll find these areas here, you might want to use your tweezers to hold down that tab like so. Okay. And now with the hind legs, again, they were shaped in a similar fashion with the ball tool like we did before. And what you're going to do is you're going to line up this area here. See the little area there? A little corner. Once it sort of starts to get round, right there. Okay. That is going to line up with this area here, okay, on your bunny. So just sort of line up and then move it to the back, okay, until it hits that corner, that area. Okay, so it's going to be like this. See how it, right there and here. Okay, so go ahead and you'll glue that into both sides. And then with the arm, again, this was shaped with the ball tool in a very similar fashion to the other leg on the sitting bunnies. And I shaped the little hands here, or paw here. And you can kind of curl it a little bit this way, because it's going to kind of look like he's holding a little basket or something, or he's about to. And then what you'll do is, again, you make sure to put the foam like we did before with the other bunnies. And you're going to sort of line it up here where the top is kind of meeting the head there. And you can kind of, position him how you like. And you can kind of curl the paw towards the front like that. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so here I'm working on a bunny tail. So you'll have, for each bunny, you have one large piece and a small piece, and just make sure to mountain fold those tabs. And then what you'll do is you'll turn them over wrong side up, and you use your 1/4 inch ball tool and just give it a good shaping here. Just really press down. Okay, make it nice and rounded, curved like so, and you'll do the same to the smaller piece. So with the large one, you'll just put some glue on those little tabs here, and you'll just pop the small one on top, line up those tabs and hold that down and glue it. Okay, and then what you'll do is you'll create like this sort of, once it's dry, you'll create this sort of L shape or 90-degree angle, and you'll add some glue onto those tabs, and you'll just place it to the back of your bunny like so. Okay, just find your center and stick it on. And you can see I've glued this one down already. Okay, so go ahead and do that for all 3 of your bunnies, and then we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so right now I'm just working on the bunny whiskers. So I cut 4 lengths of white thread, roughly about that long, and then I just tied a knot in the middle. Okay, and then what I did is I cut it to the length of whiskers that I want, and then I just added a bit of glue to that knot in the middle, and I then placed it here, so just at the point of the nose there, and just glued that down. And then you can use a pin or whatever once it's dry, like this guy here, and just sort of separate those whiskers like so. Okay, and then you can also, maybe if you want to do a little bit of a trim, you want to have some shorter whiskers, you can go ahead and do that. Okay, so go ahead and we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here I have my gears and my cams. And so you're going to have 3 pieces that are like this, just with a square in the middle. So what you're going to do is you're going to first, this is the shaft for that gear. So you'll just mountain fold on the score line, except for these tabs here. And just glue that down like so, until you have a shape like that. And then you'll insert it into one of these gears, into the middle here, and you'll fold these tabs down, and what you can do is you can glue these 2 together nicely, making sure to line up all those teeth, making sure to glue down all of the teeth, okay, so they don't fray, and then you'll glue this down like so. Okay. And then you'll have this gear. So this goes on the main shaft, and you're going to have 3 pieces. And again, you're going to make sure to valley fold these tabs. And what you're going to do is you're going to take this middle one, which just has a square in the middle, and you'll just again line up those gears. Okay, making sure that your square is lined up too, like so. And then you'll go ahead and you'll put this on horizontally. So you have this one going vertically and this one going horizontally, okay? Or the tabs are going horizontally. Okay, so horizontal, vertical, okay? So glue that down nicely. And then you have your cams. And again, it's the same scenario. You have 3 layers. Sandwich layer is just a square. This one is going vertical, horizontal, okay? And this one, exact same thing. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so here I have the shaft, and this is going to be, you're going to be putting your gear and your 2 cams onto the shaft. So what you're going to do first is you're going to score this area here manually. So just take a ruler and a scoring tool and just go across like so. You can see there's like a little notch here to guide your ruler, and there's a little notch here to guide your ruler, okay? So just go across like that. And then what you're going to do is, starting from this side, is you're going to be mountain folding all of these along all these score lines, and then you're going to create a triangle, right? Okay, like this, see? And you'll just, underneath the triangle, you'll put a bit of glue here and glue that down like so, okay? All the way down. Okay, and that's going to be create like a reinforcement. And then you're going to create your square. You're going to keep there, like that. Okay, see how it's like a little square with a diagonal inside. Okay, don't fold these bits yet. Okay, so go ahead and do that. So you're going to glue this down, making sure that this raw edge is lined up with that score line, and then we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here the shaft is all dry, and I've just added my cams and my gear onto the shaft. But first what you're going to notice is there's some score lines here. So what you'll do is you'll first put on the gear, and you'll see that there are some little dashed lines here. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3. Okay, you're putting on the 3rd position, and you're just going to glue those tabs down, making sure that your gear is lined up with that dashed line. Okay, making sure that the gear itself, not the tab, but the gear, is lined up and is at a completely 90-degree angle. Okay, it's not like this. It's got to be at a 90-degree angle. And then you will add your cam. Okay, again, making sure to line it up here. See that dashed line there? Line it up, and it's pointing downwards. Okay, like so. Okay, and glue those tabs down. This score line here is just a marker for the outer wall of the base. Okay, and then you'll jimmy the next cam onto the shaft, again lining up with that score line here. Okay, not the tab, you're lining up the actual cam, and it's going to be pointing upwards. So you got one down and one up. Okay, well, depending on the configuration, of course. Okay, so just make sure that they're all at 90 degrees, and let these dry, and then we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here are all the pieces that are going to be attached to the 3 bunnies. Now this piece is going to be attached to the standing bunny, and again, like we've done before, you're just going to mount and fold, and then go ahead and glue that down and create a square. And then for the sitting bunnies, you notice these pieces, and they have this sort of diagonal score line. You'll notice that here. Okay, you're just going to go ahead and you're going to mount and fold like so, glue that down. Okay, create your square, And then what you're going to do is you're going to take this piece here. Again, this has all been scored, folded, mountain folded. And you're just going to, with the area, with the score line, the diagonal score line facing you, you're going to insert it into the square here. Fold down those tabs, glue them down, and then close it up like so. Okay, creating like this T. Again, that diagonal score line is towards you like so. Okay, so go ahead and do that to the next one, and then we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here I have the piece that is the shaft for the standing bunny, and you notice there's some score lines going along here. And what you're going to do is you're going to take maybe a 1/8 dowel or a barbecue skewer, whatever you have on hand, just to help you roll it up. So what you're trying to do is you're kind of rolling it up into about a 1/4 inch diameter roll here. Okay, and the whole idea is that it's going to insert in here. Okay, now you want to make sure that it's not catching. Okay, so just double check just by placing it here before you glue it down. Make sure that it's able to turn nicely, freely, okay, without catching on anything. So then you'll just go ahead, once you're happy with that, and just glue that down. Okay, I found this little tool quite helpful too. Like if you choose the 0.24 and just put your roll insert into there, that kind of helps too. But yeah, so go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to our next step. Here I have the base of the Easter Automata, and what you're going to do is you're just going to line up this raw edge with the score line here and just glue that down. Okay, making sure that you have it the right side up. Okay, and then you go ahead and you'll do the other side, so you'll create this sort of octagon. Okay, so here I finished gluing the base, and all my tabs are folded along the score line, mountain folded. You're going to take your top. Now this is how it's set up, is this is the top area here. Okay, so where the square is closest to the edge here, that's the top. And then you're going to take this piece here and you're going to line up this with the sides with the holes. Okay, so this is going to go in this orientation. Okay, and you'll just pop it inside like so. Put some glue on your tabs, of course, first, and then just set it down and glue it into place. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so here I have one of the gears, and I have the rod that we created before, and you'll notice there's some dashed lines here. Okay, so insert that first through here. Should be a snug fit, and then just line up those dashed lines with your gear. Okay, like so. Now you do not want this to shift like this. Okay, so once it's glued down, it should not move. The whole thing should move. So if, like me, you made your rod a little bit too skinny, I suggest maybe using your glue gun and adhering it that way. Okay, so just make sure that that's nice and secure. And also what you want to also make sure that this gear is not warped. Okay, just lay it down, and I found that when I was gluing it down, it kind of got a little bit warped, so just try to get it back into shape. Okay, so it's nice and straight. All right, so go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so here I have the supporting piece for our gear. And what you're going to do is you're just going to mountain fold everything. I've already done the one side. So what you'll do is you'll just close these sides up here. Okay, again, making sure to line up that raw edge with the score line. And then you're going to close it up like so. Okay, making sure everything lines up. And you should end up with something that looks like this. Okay, so go ahead and do that. We'll go off to our next step. Okay, so here I've completed the support for the gear. So I'm just adding a reinforcement piece. So you just go ahead and line up that hole there. Make sure it's completely lined up. And then just glue that down. Okay. Okay, so here I have my gear support, and here's my gear, and it's basically going to fit in like this. Okay, place it in the hole here, and it should turn freely, so just double check that everything is turning, it's not catching on anything. Okay, and the easiest way is just to take this apart and run this through the hole at the top of your base. Okay, I'm just running it through here. Okay, and then with the square sides, these are the ones that are going to, the squares are going to glue to the top of your egg base. So I'm going to line them with the windows here, and then pop the gear through that hole here, like that. Okay, making sure that it's completely aligned, and you're going to glue the top of the box and the side of the boxes. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here I have my two cam feet, I guess, and what you're going to do is make sure that they're both aligned in the exact same way. Okay, so I have the diagonals going this way, okay, on both of them, and what you're going to do is they're going to come up through these two holes, these two square holes. So just run it through here to the bottom and out. Okay, again, notice the diagonal here, right here. Okay, and then you'll go ahead and place this one, poke it through in the exact same way. Okay, it'll come up through the square. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to our next step. Okay, now that I have my gear support in place and I have my two cam feet in place, okay, just make sure, once again, that you have them both in the same exact position. So with this these little dashed lines here are sloping this way, okay, towards what will be the back. Okay, same here. You can see that this cam foot is also, you can see this again on the diagonal towards sloping this way downwards. And then what you're going to do is you're going to be placing your main shaft inside the box. Now it's going to be aligned like this. This is the front, this is the back. Okay, so it's going to look like this. So insert this side first through the hole on the side here. You want to go in on a kind of a diagonal here. Okay, it's a little bit fickle. Just get it on through. Okay, pull it through on the one side, and then you can get it in on the left side here. Oops, there. Okay, and you can see that there are some dashed lines here, and that's where the wall of the box should be. Okay, and you can see that that's what it's going to look like on the top and on the inside, and make sure that your gears are catching. Now you can do a little test, just turn it, okay, like so, and making sure, of course, that'll, you know, as you're testing it, that, you know, you're going to have it, the dashed lines will be at the box wall. Okay, alright, so everything seems to be running smoothly, and there will be shafts in place once we put the grass on top of here. It's going to stop this wobbling, okay, because these will take care of that. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so now with this piece here, what you're going to do is you're going to mount and fold all these areas here except for these tabs, and then you're going to go ahead and glue that, create your square, and then you'll insert it. Of course, your grass won't be on there yet. You're going to insert it here and just glue down those tabs like so. Okay, so go ahead and do that. We'll go off to our next step. Okay, so now that we've tested our mechanism and everything seems to be okay, you can go ahead and remove those cam feet and the main shaft for now. Put that aside, and then you're going to take your green octagon with the 2 shafts. Yours won't have any grass on it yet. This is a bit cumbersome to do it that way, so yours will just be the octagon. It'll be a lot easier. And you just go ahead and glue that to the top. Now, making sure, again, that your shafts are lined up with the squares and the circle here is all lined up. Okay, so make sure to glue it thoroughly and let it dry, and then we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here I'm working on my ledge. Now I went ahead and I mountain folded all of my tabs, including these little triangles here. Okay, make sure you do those. So then what you're going to do is just add a little bit of glue here to your triangle and then close it. Okay, hold it like this. Let that dry. Once that's dry, you're going to add a bit of glue to this larger inner tab here, just about 1/4 inch in, and you're going to tuck it underneath. Okay, you can feel it hit that edge, and you can see that it's lining up here as well. Okay, see that? Then you're going to take your bent pliers and you're going to go in like this. Okay, and then do the same to the other side. Okay, so you just continue along in that order. Okay, the tab, the small tab, then the big tab. Okay, so go ahead and do that. We'll go off to our next step. Okay, so I'm almost done gluing the ledge, but I just want to point it out when you get to the end, what you're going to do is just add a little bit of glue to that triangle here, that last one, and then you're going to make sure that that raw edge is meeting with that score line as we were doing before. And then you can just take your tweezers and just kind of push down on that triangle. You can use your table as leverage and then just hold it down and let that dry. And then we'll just continue as we're doing before. We'll put some glue on that larger tab, tuck it under, and line it up like so. Okay, again, using your tweezers to glue that down. Okay, so just continue on with that, and then we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so here I fitted the ledge over top of the base, and I also fitted in the bottom as well. And making sure that I have this nice and flush, I just took a scrap piece of paper with a bit of glue and just run it in between the wall and the crevice area here. Okay, and do the same thing with the bottom. When you're going to glue this on, you're going to run it through up on through from the bottom instead of through the top, just so you don't get all this mess of glue here. It's somewhat hidden. And likely you're going to want to do this before you put all of your trees and your rabbits and that on there. Okay, so go ahead and do that. We'll go for the next step. Okay, so here's a little tip on applying your ledge to the bottom and to the top. I've got it on its side, and I've lined up the ledge with the score line of the tab here. And then I took my scrap piece of paper and I added a bit of glue and I just wedged on there. And then I used my hand as counter pressure on the inside and just sort of rubbed it like so. Okay, and you can do that to each side. And you might, depending on certain areas, you'll be able to do the same here as well. Okay, so go ahead and do that. We'll go off to our next step. Okay, so I just wanted to go over with you how to cut through when you have such delicate cuts like this, and your more intricate cuts. So what you're going to do is you want to make sure that you have the correct settings. Now, you don't necessarily use the settings that your machine is telling you to use. You really want to do some test cuts and see what works for you. It's all depending on your cardstock, the quality of the cardstock you're using too. So in my case, I'm using a blade 8, a force of 28, speed of 4, and I have it at 2 passes, and I also have the overcut feature on at 0.1, which is very, very handy. And of course, this is the Michaels 110-pound cardstock. So again, this will vary according to the quality and the type of cardstock you're using. So Yeah, so just a little tip there. Just really use that test cut feature on your machine and you shouldn't have any issues. Okay, so here I'm just inking some of my pieces. I just decided to do this last minute. So of course you'll do this before you've put your pieces, you've glued them together. So on your individual tree pieces, you can take a like a dark brown. This is from Colorbox pigment ink, and you can just go along the edges like so. Okay, you can lay it down on your surface, or just go around like this, or you can use your dauber and go in a circular motion like so. It's good to be on a slippery surface like this. It helps to blend it a little bit easier. Then what you could do is with your grass, you can take a light green ink and do the same thing. This pigment ink's a bit dry, so I can kind of do this without adding too much. Or again, you can use your dauber going around in a circular motion. Again, this is all optional, but anyways, it just adds a little bit of dimension, and yeah, so go ahead and do that and we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here I have my grass pieces, some of them, and what you're going to do is you're going to fold along that score line. So mount and fold everything. You'll notice there's some here on the sides. And so what you're going to do is you'll notice there's one with the tab, but actually first what you'll do is you'll just take your dowel and turn those little blades of grass, okay? But turn them to, away from you, okay, on these pieces here. For this one, with the score lines here, you can turn them both ways, towards you and away from you, okay? Now, once you've done that, then what you'll do is you'll just go ahead, line up that raw edge with the score line, and it'll go like so, okay? And then you'll notice that on this piece here, this is the top of your base, you'll have some lines here, some markings. So just line that up with the markings, okay, and just glue it down. You can also start with the center, get your alignment proper, and then go ahead and do the sides. And then you'll take your second row and glue it down on top of the markings, like so, okay? And then of course you'll have another piece like this going around this way, okay? There won't be a second row of grass in this area here. You're going to have a tree here, but we'll get to that later. So go off and do that, and we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here I have my standing bunny. He goes in the middle, and I have the shaft for him here. And you'll just fold along those dashed lines and add some glue to all 4 tabs, and you're going to be centering it on this rectangle at the bottom of your rabbit. Okay, just insert it and find your center and hold that down and let that dry completely. Okay, so go ahead and do that, then we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so now the shaft is pretty much dry, or is dry, inside the bunny. You're going to put it on top of the rod here and push it all the way down. You don't necessarily have to use glue to adhere this. It should be a pretty snug fit. If it isn't, add a little bit of glue, but use it sparingly because you don't want it to get caught or stuck onto your grass here, okay? So just be aware of that. And also if you're putting it on to test it out and taking it off again, it could rip off depending on how snug the fit is here. So just be careful and be wary of that. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've reinserted my cam feet in the same position as I had them when we were doing the test run. Okay, so again with the slope going like this is the front, this is the back. And then what you're going to do is you're going to fold your tabs down along the score line. Okay, and the whole idea is that you're going to be centering it on this rectangle at the bottom of the bunny, okay? And you'll just add your glue here, and you're sort of holding it from the inside. I'm holding that cam foot, okay? So for counter pressure, and just sort of center it from the side, and check to make sure that you're centered in the front as well, okay? And just hold that down and let it dry. Make sure that you don't have any of these poking upwards, okay? Make sure that they're all folded downwards and they're properly adhered to the inside of the back of the bunny. Now you could use hot glue for this, but it's sort of like the point of no return. So try with the white glue first and see how that goes. If you're having trouble, just go ahead and use the hot glue. But again, take your time with it and let it dry completely. And then go ahead and do the same with your other sitting bunny on this side. Okay. Okay, so I'm about to apply the bottom to my base. Now, of course, what you want to make sure first is that your mechanism is working, your rabbits are moving properly, the gear teeth are catching, okay? So just make a test, make sure that it's all is running okay and smoothly. And then what you're going to do is lift these tabs up like so, okay? So that they're going to make contact with the bottom. And then you're going to apply glue on those tabs and along the bottom of the ledge. And then, of course, line it up, that raw edge with the score line, and just glue that into place. Okay, so go ahead and do that. We'll go off to our next step. Okay, so here I'm just gluing together my cherry tree. So what you're going to have 6 pieces like this. Okay, you see the tab is to the right, so it's right side up. And then you're just going to valley fold like so. Okay, and then you're just going to apply glue from here to here. Okay, not this branch here, but just the main branch, the main trunk. And then you're going to line it up and just glue that down. Okay, so you'll continue gluing like that for all 6 tree pieces. And then once they're glued, you're going to open it up like this and then bring the 2 last ones and glue those ones together in this main area here. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so here I have the base for my tree. You'll notice there's some dashed lines here on one of the circles, and you're just going to glue them together like so. And with the dashed lines up, just place it on your table here. And what you're going to do with your tree is just going to make sure that you valley fold all those tabs that are at the base. So sort of looking like this at the bottom here. Okay. And then you're going to take 2 opposing sides. So here I'm taking these 2, and these 2 sections are free here. And I'm lining up these 2 with those 2 notches here. Okay, so just center it on there. Center it on your circle. Line up those 2 sides with the notches. And then with the ones that are free, the 2 sides that are free, just evenly space them along that half circle. Okay, and then you'll do the same thing with the other side. You can use a little scrap piece of paper with some glue on it just to get underneath and glue down those tabs. Okay, so go ahead and do that. We'll go off for our next section. Okay, so here I'm just adding the blossoms to my tree. So just find the front and back piece, okay, for each blossom. And then what you'll do is you'll take one of them and you'll just find an area where you want to add it to. So let's say here, I'll just add a little bit of glue here. Just tack it into place. And then I'll just turn it over and line it up. Put some glue on there and line it up like so. And sandwich it in between the branch like that. Okay. And then just go ahead and continue to fill up your tree. Now, if you're finding that the branches are a little bit droopy in some areas, you can always just glue them together here, the main branch right here, or maybe you need to glue it up here a little bit. But just keep going with it until you're pleased with it, and then we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here I'm about to glue my tree down onto the base here, just behind my bunnies. So you're gonna want to center it right here, okay, behind this bunny, and you want to put the edge of the trunk with the edge of the tab, okay, not on top of the tab, just next to the tab, like so. Okay, so just find your center and glue that down. Now you could use the white glue, or you could use a hot glue gun, depending on, you know, how patient you are with it. But yeah, so let it dry completely, and then we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here I have some of the pieces for the egg portion of our project. So what you're going to do, and you're going to have 8 of these, is once you've cut them out, is just to give it a little bit of a curve, kind of like an egg-shaped curve. You could run them along the edge of a table and give them that kind of, this kind of curve. Not too much, but just a bit like that. Okay, and then go ahead and start to mount and fold all of your tabs. Okay, all right, and then what you're going to do is you're going to start to glue them down. Now, of course, start with the top. Make sure that you're aligned. You're aligned right here. You've got that raw edge next to that score line. And then you're just going to continue all the way down. Now, I used, of course, my little handy piece of scrap paper with some glue on it to get into those tabs. And so, yeah, so just keep going with that, and we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so here is the top of the egg. And what you'll do is you'll mount and fold all along those dashed lines, and then you'll line up that raw edge with the score line here of that tab, and then you'll do the same to the other side here and just close that up. Okay, and then you'll just take this piece and just glue it on top, making sure again to line up your raw edge with the score lines. Okay, making sure that the corners meet at like here and here. Okay, and just slowly go along and glue one tab at a time, and then just let that dry. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here I'm applying the cap of my egg. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to line up this raw edge here with this edge here, and of course line up the sides to these. Okay, so you're just going to line that up here and then glue that down, and then go ahead and line up the other side, and then do this side and that side. It's just to make sure that your alignment is proper. Okay, and what you can do is to get in between the tight areas, you can just take a little piece of scrap paper and with a bit of glue and just get inside here. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here is the bottom of our egg. There's 3 pieces, and you'll go ahead and you'll mount and fold these 2, and then you'll line up that raw edge to that score line here, and then you'll do the same to the other side. Okay. You'll flip that around, and on the outside you're going to apply this piece, okay, which will attach itself like so. Now what might be helpful to you is to maybe start with this side and then glue the opposite side, and then this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. It just helps to keep your alignment in place. So sometimes there's a tendency to kind of miss your corners. So again, make sure that raw edge is lined up with the score line, and your corner is lined up with these corner score lines. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so now I'm just adding the bottom piece to my egg base here. And like we did at the top, you're just going to make sure to line up this area here with this raw edge here and align the sides here. Okay. Just glue that down, and then just do the opposite side, and then this one, like we did before. Okay, just take your time with it. You can always use your little scrap piece of paper with glue to get into those tight areas. Okay, and then just let that dry. Now, of course, you're going to see that there's these extra tabs in here and in here. Go ahead and glue those down afterwards. It's just to add a little bit more stability to the project. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here I have my egg, and I'm just adding these pieces here to hide my tabs. So you just go ahead and place this here and just line it up. Make sure it's nicely aligned. Okay, on the inside, and then you'll take this piece here, another octagon, and you'll place it at the top here. Okay, making sure that it's all lined up. Okay, and glue that down, and that should hide some of those tabs nicely. Okay, so here are my pieces for the tulips. So you've got the stem here, and you have the grass, okay, And then you have 5 tulip petal pieces, I guess. And then what you're going to do is just going to go ahead and ink them. So use the light green like we did with the grass, and just go ahead and do 45-degree angle, do the front and back of your stem and your grass. And then you'll do the same to your petals. What you can do is use a couple of shades darker than your cardstock color, or much darker in that case. I've got orange here. This is a pigment ink from Color Box, and I'm just doing this to the edges. You could use your dauber, depending on how dry your ink pad is. So I kind of went like this, 45-degree angle, like that, let it dry, and then I did this, okay? So go ahead and ink all your pieces, and then we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here I'm just shaping the pieces for the tulip. So of course you're going to vary them. Some of them might have this leaf on that side, or you could flip it over and have it this way. And what you're going to do is use your 1/16 of an inch ball stylus, and you just run a line here down the center, okay, on both leaves, okay. And then you can take, this is about 1/4 of an inch, I guess, ball tool, and you can just kind of curl it like so, if you like, and you can fold it down on that line that you just did, okay. Kind of pinch the tips here, you can roll them back, okay. So just play around with it. And then with this one, of course, you can roll the grass back and forth if you like. Here, just taking your ball tool and kind of vary it a bit. And of course, some will go this way, some will go that way. Okay. Of course, it's going to be depending on which way you do it. You're going to fold along the dashed line there. Okay. So just play around with them, and then we'll go off to the next step. Okay. So now I'm just going to be gluing the petals down. So what you're going to do is you're going to fold 4 of them in half, and the 5th one, just leave it as is. And what you'll do is you'll line up that folded edge, just the corner here, with the dashed line, and kind of pivot it so you're about a 1/16 of an inch away from the dashed line at the top, okay? And you'll glue that down, and you'll do the same to the other petal. So you'll end up with like an eighth of an inch space at the top, okay? You probably see it better here, okay? So you can see I'm sort of have an 1/8 of an inch space here, sort of pivoted away. I might not be completely centered, but anyways, that's okay. All right, once that's dry, you're going to flip it over, okay? Of course, it'll be dry at this point. And then you'll, with your wrong side up of your stem, okay, you'll place it about 1/4, well, about 3/8, about 3/8 of an inch on there, 3/8 to 1/4. Center it on that dashed line and glue it down. Once that's dry, you'll take your other 2 petals that are left, and you'll line up this edge with the dashed line. Just center it and center the other one. So you'll end up like this. So you're butt up against the other one. Of course, you're going to fan it out like that. Okay, so that's the back. This is sort of the front. Okay. All right, and then what you'll do is you'll glue the stem to the grass piece, and that will enable you to just place it on your scene. Just glue it down here and place it on your scene. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so here I'm just placing my tulips into the scene, and what you're going to do is, of course, this is going to be bent here. You're going to fold along those dashed lines here, and make sure it's not coming towards the front too much, okay? And then put a bit of glue here, and then just take your tweezers and just place it into the scene. Now I've put in about 5 so far. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to put more, but go ahead, play with it. What you really want to be aware of, though, is that you do not want to have any collision with your rabbits, okay? So keep those tulips away from the rabbits, and just test it out. Make sure that you're not you're not causing any problems there with your tulips. Okay, so here I'm placing the stopper onto the left side of my base. And what I did, it's this piece here with just a square in the middle. And of course my tabs weren't folded down at the time. I just sort of slipped the tabs in through the square hole. And then I folded down my tabs like this. Okay, so you can see I have it on there. And then I'm going to put some glue here and glue that down. Now you can use your tweezers, of course, to get on in there. And then once that's dry, then I'm going to go ahead and place this piece here, this circle on top, and sandwich those tabs. Okay, again, use your tweezers to make sure that that is really held down and glues down properly. Okay, so go ahead and do that. We'll go off to our next step. Okay, so I just wanted to show you how I was attaching the stopper to the main shaft on the left side of your box, of your Easter base. And I'm just taking these tweezers here and I'm just sort of tucking it in here like so. Okay, and then putting some glue on my tabs and just holding it down. And of course turning it, getting to the next tab, and continuing on like this. Okay, holding it down, letting it dry. And then of course then I will put my other piece here and I'll glue that on top. Okay, so go ahead and do that and we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here I have the stopper. This goes on this side here. Okay, so which would be your right side. So you have a piece with a square in the middle and you have a piece with the tabs. So with the tabs on the outside here, this one here, just glue those together. Okay, and then what you're going to do is you're going to slip this on to this handle piece. And of course, remember you've got a dotted line here on the side, the dashed line, and you're just going to slip this on, now holding the other side, and then just line it up with that dashed line. Okay, you're lining up the wheel, not the tab. You're lining up the stopper, and then you're going to glue that down, glue those tabs down. Okay, so go ahead and do that. We'll go off to our next step. Okay, so here I've cut out and embossed my decorative panels. Now this one is, I used the 110 pound cardstock and went ahead and embossed it with my Big Shot. But again, you can use any decorative paper you wish. So what you're going to do is once your ledge is dry and all of that, and obviously you're going to want to do this before you put the handle on your base, okay? Definitely before that. And what you're going to do is just going to center it over top of that stopper, and you got about an eighth of an inch all around. Okay, and just secure that into place. You could probably go underneath here and sort of fit it on there. And you'll do the same to the other side. And then you've got this panel here, and you can place this one to the back and just line up that square there and then glue that down. Now you could do the same to the front. You could add another one of these panels, or you could just add a panel without a hole. It's all depending if you want people to be able to see right through. Sometimes it's fun for kids to be able to see the mechanism, to see how it all works. Maybe you want to have that in the front and back, or maybe not at all. That's completely up to you. And then go ahead and add the rest of the panels onto your piece, and then we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here I've taken the handle piece, and that's the handle piece with the circle as well as a little square in the middle. So you're just going to put that over top of your tabs here, but you're going to line it up. You're going to line up the shorter tab, because I've made adjustments to the file. You'll notice that there is a shorter tab on the main shaft. Line up that shorter tab with the circle, the small circle here, okay? And then just glue that down like so. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take all of these pieces here. These ones don't have any holes or anything except for the finger hole there. And you're just going to glue these together, these two reinforcement pieces. And then you're going to take your decorative layer and you're going to line that up with the circle and glue all that together. And then once this is dry, you're going to adhere it like so. And don't forget to, you can use your tweezers to glue down those tabs and also to glue down the reinforcement pieces and the decorative piece. Okay, so go ahead and do that and we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here I'm just adding my decorative piece here to the left side. Okay, just basically centering it on there and gluing it down. Again, use your tweezers to adhere it if you're having trouble. Okay, so go ahead and do that and we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so here I'm working on the foliage that goes up the ribs of the egg. So here I'm using a 1/16 of an inch ball stylus, and I'm just going ahead and veining these. I've got my mouse pad here, and I'm just going down the center and then creating a couple of lines like so. Okay, and I might just do maybe one down the middle on these smaller leaves. Okay, and then once you've done that, then you can just take your light green pigment ink, and again, like we were doing before, kind of going across like this. Okay, just, you know, might want to go a little bit heavier. You could use a dauber, but I'm just holding it like this and going around like that. Okay, and then once you've done that and that's dried, then you can kind of take your ball tool or like a toothpick and just, you can kind of turn the leaves like so. You can vary it a bit. You could fold them here, right where it meets the stem, and give it a little turn. Okay, just vary them. See, I've done that a bit here. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so here I'm adding the foliage to my egg, and what you're going to do is you're going to line up that point at the end here. Okay, line it up, add some glue behind the stem there, and just tack it down. Okay, and then every couple of inches add a little bit of glue behind the stem here and hold it down. Okay, you don't have to tack every little bit, just every few inches, and just work your way up. You could use a toothpick, you could use your hot glue gun if you have a fine point, or you could use a hot glue gun, a hot glue with your toothpick, and apply it that way. Again, it's sometimes it can be point of no return with the hot glue if you have to reposition. But anyways, keep on going with that, and then we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so here I'm applying the acetate to my egg. Now this is completely optional. It is a bit of a challenge. You want to make sure that you have a very clean work surface, no dust. Make sure that your hands are clean, there's no remnants of ink or whatever. So now I'm using a Well-Bond glue, which is quite good. I use it for stained glass mosaic, and it dries quite clear after a couple of days, so I recommend using that. Or you could use, I think there's some score tapes that will adhere to acetate, so you might want to look into that as well. So what I've done is sort of started with putting glue in this corner here area between the lip and the egg. You don't want to put it on the edge here, okay, because you don't want it seeping out. So just in here and up through here in that area between this top edge and the edge of the egg on the inside, of course. Okay, you don't want to get it too close to the edge so it's not seeping through. And then you can approach it either from the side or bringing it up on through the inside. You could use tweezers to help you out as well. Another approach would be to apply the glue onto the bottom here and the top here. Okay, so that's another option. I kind of used a combination of both. Okay, so just carry on with that. Be very careful. Make sure that try not to get any glue on the panels that you've already glued in there. Okay, so go ahead and do that. We'll go off to our next step. Okay, so I just glued in my last acetate panel, but I approached it a little bit differently. I actually applied the glue at the top first. I flipped it over, obviously, on its head. I applied the glue at the top, then I slipped my panel in, and then I applied glue at the bottom here, okay, and secured them. So that might be a different way that you could approach this. Might be a little bit easier. Anyways, go ahead and we'll see you in the next clip. Okay, so now that I completed the acetate on my egg and everything, what you're going to do, and you're going to make sure that it's clean, of course, and all the dust is brushed off and whatever, you're going to come at it by placing it kind of on an angle, and you're going to encapsulate your tree first, okay? So slowly scoot your tree on in there, in the branches, okay? Be very careful with it. And then as you're bringing it down, you want to make sure that you're lining up that octagon, okay? That you have it lined up with your base as you're bringing it down. And you have to be careful, of course, with the grass. That's why I had you curl the grass towards the inside. But just make sure none of the grass gets caught. So just slowly, scoot your grass over and scoot your little bunny legs over. Okay, so it's a little bit tight fit, but just be careful with them because you obviously don't want to have them come away from the shaft. So just scoot them a little bit over and then lay down your egg top. Okay, so go ahead and do that. We'll go for the next step. Well, we have now completed this project, and I hope that you're as pleased with it as I am. I cannot wait to see your creations and post them in the gallery. Just so you know, I will be creating a Christmas version of this very soon. Anyway, if you enjoyed this project, don't forget to subscribe and visit my website at www.decouvert.com for updates and more fun projects. Thanks again for joining me, and have a happy spring and Easter!